everybody, and welcome back to Lean for a podcast exploring the worlds of movies, video games, and TV shows. I'm your host, Nate, and today I'm joined by Chaz, Fergus, and James. How you guys doing today?
Yeah, man. Pretty good. Been digging up some relics recently, and i.e. playing Pokemon Go, if you remember that one, and catching up on Walking Dead. I also finally watched Spider-Man: Far From Home, so I'm ready for No Way Home when that's available for streaming.
How did you find it?
Yeah, I liked it. I think I liked it better than the first one, actually. But I'm sure that will come up in the topic later today.
Yes, very much so. Very much so. And yeah, it's interesting how that movie goes, and I'm looking forward to the next thing that director does because he's going to be working. I believe he's doing the Fantastic Four movie for Marvel when that comes out.
Oh, they're doing another one of those, huh?
I mean, to be fair, like the last one they did was 2011, 2012. So it's been about 10. It's been about almost 10 years, I'd say, because I think it's maybe 2013, 2014. But yeah, because that didn't go well.
Maybe we just feel like there's so many because they all just didn't go well. Whereas there's a lot of Spider-Man movies, but we'll.
You know what? I actually didn't mind the first Fantastic Four movie, the early 2000s one. Got a bit of Sum 41 in that. I didn't. Doctor Doom actually looked pretty good. I actually thought, that was pretty good. But yeah, I don't know. But yeah, no. It's a good film. Far From Home. Fergus, how about yourself?
Good, thanks. What have I been doing this week? I've been playing N++ on Steam. Says sort of a platformer game, a stick man, and yeah, jump around a lot. It's been very entertaining. I also finished Disenchanted, which I enjoyed quite a lot actually. I do have opinions on how that ended though.
Oh, they actually finished it. Interesting.
Well, no, it's continuing, but I mean the first 6 episodes felt like they were going somewhere, and the next like 4 or so just I don't understand what happened. Like they'd lost a writer or something. It felt weird. Yeah.
Yeah, I like Disenchantment, but for me, I felt personally, I felt this 4th season was probably the weakest, and I concur with basically what you said.
Yeah, it definitely lost its way a bit, but worth a watch if it's
Oh, it's still fun. I'm still interested in the future seasons.
Yeah, same.
And yeah, as me guys, yeah, I'm doing well. So I finally got round to finishing The Expanse this week. Like absolutely amazing series.
I'm
Also
one
found
episode off.
Oh, nice. It's worth it. It's good. Also finished not finished yet, but I'm playing through, almost finished, a game called The Hex, which is a game about a few years ago, made by the same guy who did Inscription, and I do highly recommend it. If you like indie games, I recommend it. It's very much quite meta, because all those games are, but it's also a little like a fun trip down various different old school kind of games as well.
Nice. I believe you were watching Cuphead
Oh
as
yeah,
well.
Cuphead was great. Also, another series I finished watching, which I do also recommend, kind of ties in with what we're going to be talking about on the topic, though, is Hitmonkey, since that's a Marvel
Nice,
property.
awesome.
But
yeah, I still need to finish that myself. To be honest, I actually need to start Hitmonkey and finish Cuphead. I've seen like the first 2 episodes. Someone described on another podcast quite well. Going into Cuphead, I think you need to be a little bit interested in the animation style or just that game in general, because when you watch it, it does have a very a Fleischer design. It's different. It is very different to what it. Luckily, it's only 15-minute episodes, and there's 12 of them. So
I love that. So,
oh no, don't get me wrong. I believe he did the was the original Superman cartoon style. And I used to love that, on the old video cassettes when I used to watch it when I was younger. I used to love that. But yeah, for me, pretty much finished Horizon Forbidden West. Yeah, Chaz just
Already?
like how. Yeah, no. So I booked a couple of days off to play that and played it over last weekend. I've just got 1 mission left. I actually googled how many missions there are, and I'm like, I'm 1 mission from the end, but I've got like 12 side missions I can do. So I'm just like, I'm going to do those, going to go off and do those and enjoy it. And my Jesus Christ, that game is so gorgeous. Like, honestly, I don't know what it's going to be like when it eventually, if it does eventually come to PC. I'm sure it will because the first one did. But yeah, no, I watched a few episodes of Cuphead. Still need to watch Space Force because I did watch the first season. Obviously, the second season's out now. I've been watching Vox Machina, The Legend of Vox Machina, the Critical Role animation on Amazon Prime. So I've actually been enjoying that. It's actually quite good. A lot more adult orientated than I expected. Though I knew there was like adult orientated themes in that D&D thing. I'm not a massive D&D person, but the fact that they are taking their first campaign and actually creating it into the animated show, which is really interesting. And they're actually going to a nice little topic we're actually going to be going to discussing. Actually, kind of goes into the whole topic today. We'll get into that in a little bit, but yeah. And just outside of that, in regards to shows, I still need to finish The Expanse. I've got 2 episodes left. I've finished 4, got 2 episodes left, and I think we might have a nice little retrospective special episode down the line and to discuss that series in general, because where the last season is, I'm kind of concerned at one storyline. And then yeah, I don't know how that's going to go. James.
Yeah, no, I was just going to make a bad pun. I was just going to say we're going to have a expansive discussion.
Oh, God damn it. Puns are my job. Puns are my job. How dare you?
I have not a pun. I have 1 episode of The Expanse left, and it feels like there's a lot that they have to wrap up in that episode. I hope that it's a relatively satisfying end. I know that the books go on longer than the TV show will. I mean, it's a good show, so overall I'll still be happy. But yeah, here's hoping that the end wraps up nicely and it doesn't leave a loose ends or rushes everything.
Yes, honestly, that show is, if they can wrap it up nicely, even if it's like good, I'd be quite happy, to be honest, because that show has so much does have to wrap up. And I said there's a storyline in the final season I'm a bit confused by. It involves a girl and a planet, and I'm like, I don't even know what's going on there. It's so random. But yes, so I'm glad everyone's had a good week though. So last week, we dived into a very interesting, like very well known, well, not well known, but it's talked about a lot topic, to be honest. So, the whole should games renowned for their difficulty have easy accessible modes? And we definitely had some interesting opinions there, and like how it was actually good because you get a lot of people on the internet who like just go at each other. And I think that's why at the end of the episode, I like to point out, if you go into these debates or if you go into these conversations, unpress the caps lock key, understand the other person's perspective, and just have a discussion about it. And I know Chaz listened to the episode and came in with some. We had a nice little talk on Discord about it, and I'm thinking down the line, because I'm going to pick up Elden Ring eventually. Like when it's cheaper, I think I'm going to give it a go, and it'll be actually nice to quite revisit, because I know some people are saying it's the most accessible Souls-like game. It's but also I've heard people saying do not play this because it is not. So it'd be interesting to see where that goes, to be honest. And it might actually be good to get someone on who's actually played the Elden Ring game to, and is actually quite good at it, so actually get their perspective as well. So it'd actually be really interesting to see. But yes, as we go through the weeks, we're in episode 11 now, yay! And we'll also be doing episode 12, but we'll get into that in a second. This week we're going to be getting into with the Batman, that Cape Crusader looming over us for that 3 goddamn hour runtime. I swear to God, it's now the second longest comic book movie ever. Spider-Man No Way Home was just before Avengers, but it's the second longest. Like Avengers comes in at, I just believe, just over 3 hours. This comes in at like just under 3 hours, and supposedly it uses its time. I've been reading reviews for it. Luckily, no spoilers this time. I've avoided all spoilers, and I'm really happy about that because I've been spoiled a few times by comic book films, and yeah, supposedly it does use its time well, so it's going to be really interesting to see.
Does the Snyder Cut of Justice League count? Am I getting that right?
Shit. Yeah. I'd say yes and no. I'd say it does count in the fact it would be the longest comic book movie, but then you could take into account the Watchmen extended Ultimate Cut, which is like so long because it's got a film within a film.
I didn't know that. There you go then.
Yeah, it's got an animated. I believe it's got an animated film about a pirate, which is the comic book in that universe. Because they have superheroes in that universe, their comic books are about pirates. It's an interesting thing in that lore.
You
to
watch
be
someone
honest.
like watch this episode and then or listen to this episode and then be like, actually, there's this 10-hour long random movie based on a comic book from like 20 years ago. And we're like, oh, okay, sure, we didn't know about that one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll probably get that, but no, this is the in cinema version, because the original Justice League was only about just over 2 hours, and then they literally doubled the time for the Snyder Cut, which I'm not gonna lie, much better. I can't believe I watched it in one sitting. But yeah, I just think in that regard, yeah, this is the second longest one. I've said that multiple times, but we will continue on. So this week we are going to be getting into is there comic book property burnout coming? Like, but we'll get into the topic a little bit, but I feel that it's a changing landscape. It's a case of like with all these properties coming out and with Endgame happening, where are we going to go from there? But before we divulge into that, we are going to be going on to the news today, people. We are going to go on to the news, and trust me, we got some interesting topics here today. And to start off with, more news on the Mad Max prequel Furiosa. Chris Hemsworth is playing the lead villain in the Furiosa prequel movie. So it's nice to have another Aussie playing the villain, because obviously the original had the Aussie as the villain. But Charlize Theron isn't in the movie. It's she's not playing Furiosa. It's Anya Taylor-Joy. She is playing the character of Furiosa in this time around. So no doubt she's going to lose her arm. I'm presuming she's going to lose her arm in this movie at some point. And I bet what will happen is 2/3 through the movie, she loses her arm, and then she comes back with the new mechanical arm, and then she defeats the villain. And it's going to be badass anyway, because George Miller is directing it again. And that movie was insane, Mad Max. Was it you I went with, Chaz, to see it? Did we go see it together?
No, I actually saw it at home, which I'm a bit sad about, because obviously it's an amazing movie, especially visually. So it would have been nice to see it in the cinema.
Honestly, it'd be really, really interesting movie to see. I'm wondering where the Furiosa movie will go. I wonder if maybe there'll be a different style, because I know in the movie itself, I don't know if Fergus and James, have you seen
I've
the
seen the
Yes,
Mad
yeah,
Max movie?
yeah.
So so obviously she comes from a place where there is green still, like the female colony, if I remember correctly, and there was green still at the time. So I wonder if there'll be like a new visual style to the movie, because it was very, very orange in the movie, which is understandable. And I'm wondering, see, people don't know who Chris Hemsworth is playing yet. People are thinking, is he a young Immortan Joe? And I'm like, no. Or it could be, but also I don't know, maybe because if he's the lead villain, I wouldn't think Immortan Joe would be the lead villain in the movie. He'd probably be person who like helps her. Yeah.
I only really know him as Thor. Has he done any villain stuff before?
So he has been in a movie. Let me just Google this quickly. It's not a big movie. It is called. See, this is why sometimes people, you have to have your Wikipedia up. I mean, he's been in. I love the fact that he was in Home and Away.
We don't need Wikipedia when we've got you, Nate. You are Wikipedia, right?
Sometimes I do. So he's in a movie. I'm not seen this one, but it's called Bad Times at the El Royale. It came out like 3-4 years ago now, but basically he's like I believe he's like a cult leader in that film. So like he has this very like 19, it's I believe set in the like 60s 70s, and yeah, it's very interesting to see, to be honest. But yeah, so it'd be really nice to see Hemsworth play against Thor, because I mean, the man could do comic books really well, play Thor really well. He's very good at comedy. Like, he's actually really good at comedy, in my opinion. Maybe not so much in the Ghostbusters movie, but that wasn't his fault. And it'd be really nice to see him. Obviously, he was just in the Netflix movie Extraction, which I thought was badass. And he's doing it. He's currently filming Extraction 2. And he's going to be playing the villain in there. So it'd be really nice to see where it goes from there, to be honest. It'd be really nice to see what he does. But yeah, so obviously, with that happening, loads of movie news coming out. Going on to the gaming news now, though, it just came out today that Resident Evil 2, 3, and 7, so Resident Evil 2, 3 remakes and Resident Evil 7, are getting PS5 and Xbox Series XS upgrades. Now, they'll be coming later in the year, and also anyone who has the game already will get a free digital upgrade. They'll just automatically get it. And it will include ray tracing, high frame rates, 3D audio. The PS5 version will utilize the DualSense haptic feedback and adaptive triggers, which, by the way, the adaptive triggers on the controller are amazing, by the way. Like, pulling the trigger and feeling the bowstring tighten, like when I'm playing Horizon, is just insane to me. And, like, having the trigger lock up when your gun jams and everything is just... It really adds a nice sense there. I'm wondering where Resident Evil's gonna go, because obviously there's this rumored Resident Evil 4 remake that's supposedly going to happen.
Doesn't feel very rumored. Feels quite confirmed at this point.
Yeah, I don't know. I did buy it for the Oculus, Resident Evil 4. I played 30 minutes and I haven't played it since because I felt like I was going to throw
You were
up.
saying about where Resident Evil could go in regards to the Resi 4 potential remake. I'm kind of in that like area where I think Resi 4 is still like a fantastic game. It still looks pretty good. I'm not sure if it needs it. We'll see what they decide to do. If it's just a pure graphical upgrade, or if they decide to improve some systems or expand on the game or something.
I love Resident Evil 4. I think after Skyrim, it's probably the game I've bought the most, like on different consoles. Still need to buy it on my Switch. That's the only console I haven't bought it for yet. I love the fact I bought it for my Oculus before my Switch, which is really interesting, to be honest. But yeah, I'll probably replay on my Switch this year at some point. I'll probably give that a nice go and actually use my Switch again, because I haven't really used it that much, to be honest. Yes, it would just be... I mean, Resident Evil 2 and 3 already looked great, and I think with 8, which was just amazing to me. If you haven't played 8, people go and play it. It is just so good. Maybe like watch a video recap of 7 if you don't want to, play 7, because you do I feel like you do have to play 7 to, or understand 7 to play 8. Because I believe they are creating a trilogy of games, which is like the narrative of this story, which I think is really awesome. But yeah, I definitely recommend that, people. Definitely recommend that indeed. Going on to the next news topic, Guardians of the Galaxy is coming to Xbox Game Pass. The recent Eidos Montreal title, Guardians of the Galaxy, is coming on the 10th of March. So that's next week. And honestly, I don't know if you guys have Game Pass at all, but I highly recommend this game. Like, even if you're not, I mean, to be fair, you have to be into comic books if you want to play this game. But I think it's a case of, like, this actually goes to the topic as well quite well today, to be honest, because it's not just, TV shows, it could be other media as well. This game, I feel, had a bit of an issue with the fact that it's following Marvel's Avengers, which did not go down well with a lot of people, myself included. I thought it was a really interesting story. Had a Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel was the main character, and you see the Avengers around her. It was just the multiplayer content and the extra content going forward. And this came out, it had a similar art style to a degree, and people thought it was just an extension of that, like a new story campaign. It was an entirely different game. It took me like 18 hours to complete the game. It was quite a long game, to be honest. And the narrative goes in different directions, which you don't expect. And I think and also people keep saying this is like B version of like the movie versions, but I'm not going to lie. The characters in this I felt were more close to the comic book versions. Like Star-Lord is more of a like an actual leader, whereas like the Chris Pratt version, he wiped out half the universe. Well, he didn't personally, but people blame him for that. I think it was all part of the plan. But yeah, no. So yeah, there's coming to that. Also coming to Game Pass is Microsoft Flight Simulator via the cloud. So people on the original Xbox One can actually play the game now, because I believe there was some issues originally that they couldn't play it as well.
Yeah, no, there have been problems with that. That game is massive. I mean, even if you're playing it on the PC, you need to stream the map data via the internet. So the file size is technically in the petaflops region. So I think it's taken some work for that to actually work.
I wish I could get into the flight simulator games. I remember playing, I believe it was 97.
It is good.
Or 2000 when I was younger, but it just wasn't for me, to be honest. I actually have someone I know. I believe they might be a pilot now, but that's where they started the like hundreds of pounds worth of flight simulation equipment in their house, and they just learned to do this, and I believe they actually went into pilot training from it. It's just insane the level of detail to become a pilot, and you could actually do that. Well, obviously, I'm presuming you could actually, because they do try to be quite
Yeah,
close.
there's a simple mode where you basically pull the accelerator and you fly off into the sunset, and then there's the super technical hard mode where you have to press all of the switches in the right order to get your jumbo jet engines to start, and you have to properly talk to the traffic control to be legally allowed to take off and stuff. Like, I don't know enough to be able to successfully do that mode, but
I definitely we're actually going to be having a VR discussion in the future, like where VR could go in the next 10 years, because this is going to be a booming thing. Why we don't have a flight simulator VR game is weird to me. Like, it'd be interesting to, mind you, sitting there for maybe 10 hours with a VR headset on as you just fly
Yeah,
from England to Australia.
you miss out a lot just sitting in the cockpit. A large part of it is being able to zoom out to the sort of landscape camera that kind of follows the plane. You can sort of actually see the ground. Otherwise, it is just 16 hours of clouds.
I mean, some people might like that.
I'm sure some people do, but
Maybe we should do time the topic. Maybe we should do a virtual reality Superman flight simulator. And you can also see
I mean-
the lasers coming out your eyes, kind of. Time.
Once the screen turns red.
We need Desert Bus VR. That's what we need.
there was a roller coaster. I swear. What was it? Air or something, where you have the VR headsets and you're on the roller coaster and you do the Superman thing. Alton Towers, maybe. Yeah.
It's called Galactica now, and it's Alton Towers. They took the headsets off. I actually know a little bit about this because I'm so into theme parks. Headsets on theme parks, quite difficult to make work, and a lot of companies that have put headsets onto their roller coasters have had to remove them again because of technical issues with it. Unfortunately, I think the tech is not quite there.
Interesting to see what goes there, but yeah, that's a future conversation with where VR and AR could go, because I think that's a very booming field that would be really interesting to see, to be honest. So yes, going on to the next topic though, the Steam Deck. Turns out there's a lot more demand than Steam expected for it, and the production is from Eurogamer here is ramping up into the hundreds of thousands by next month, and I've heard the Steam Deck is actually quite good. I've heard it is really good, to be honest, and I love the fact that Steam have got this entire verification, games verified list already. So if you want to get the Steam Deck, you can know exactly what games you want. They also have some games will work, but you may need to do some tweaking, and then some games that aren't. And I looked at, and it actually tells you exactly which games in your Steam library are on the Steam Deck already, which I think is awesome. You don't have to search. And I think I have almost 1,000 games in my Steam library. I think about 25 were not able to be played on the Steam Deck, which I think is insane, to be honest, out of almost 1,000. And I know I saw another news article, I don't know if you guys have seen this, a nice little delivery driver helped deliver some of the Steam Decks to people.
Yes.
Gabe Null was delivering Steam Decks to people's houses, and some people were confused at first, but then other people recognized it through the mask. But yeah, that's interesting, to be honest. Gabe going around delivering the first of this platform. I'm wondering if Nintendo's going to have competition with this now, because a lot of people had issues with PC gaming because of either the cost of the console, so the cost of the PC, the constant upgrading, also the fact that it's the portability of it. Now, I know the battery life on the Steam Deck isn't great, and the one issue I had with buying it, apart from the cost initially, because I always go for the most expensive because I'm an idiot, is it doesn't come with the dock at first. The dock is going to come later, and I'm hoping there'll be a bundle for that. But with the Steam Deck, though, it'll be really interesting to see where they go with that, to be honest. Because because it's bigger than the Switch as well. I think Nintendo will either have to ramp up their graphic, how the Switches work graphically, or they'll just have to be more ingenuitive in how they go in their consoles.
To be honest, I feel like they cater to two different audiences. PC gamers and Nintendo gamers, in terms of the type of games, there's not too much overlap. So I feel like they could probably both exist in the same space.
I do agree with that. The Steam Deck's going to be more 20 plus age range, whereas I think the Switch is more 4 to 16, I guess. So, I mean, the exceptions to that, of course, but
Yeah, I mean, it's partly about age of gamers, but I think it's also just the type of people who would play those kind of games. I mean, I feel like people would play them both, but I just feel like the type of games that release on the Switch and the type of games that are available on Steam, it's different enough to be able to exist in the same space, I think. But we'll see.
Mhm.
I'll keep an eye on it myself. I'm not much of a portable gamer, I guess, but if things look good, then I'm tempted because, like you, I've got a lot of games in my Steam library, so it'd be good to have those on the go.
Definitely, definitely. And going off of the Switch very briefly, they announced Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet, which I'm intrigued by. I'm not gonna lie, it seems that what was the recent Arceus? I believe that Legends Arceus was a testing ground for Scarlet and Violet, because I'm looking at the graphics of this game and they look better than Arceus did. And maybe Arceus was the platform for the open world aspect, because supposedly Scarlet and Violet are open world games as well. So I'm kind of glad Pokemon is finally pushing into that area, because I think they needed that.
Surprised it took them that long, to be honest.
I mean, I don't. Is it Game Freak making this still? I know Game Freak. Oh, it's the Pokemon company.
I believe the Game Freak name is still used, I believe.
Okay, yeah. No, but yeah, going off the Nintendo thing, I think yeah, like they don't have to like push graphically, but just keep pushing, innovating it and everything. And I think the Switch, because it is almost 6 years old, and I believe it is 6 years old now. It is coming to the end. I feel that we're probably going to get an announcement on the next one soon. I bet they'll announce it when the Breath of the Wild 2 release date's announced, and they'll be like the launch title for that, which would be really awesome because Breath of the Wild is amazing. So yes, people. Obviously that's the Steam Deck and the Nintendo. I didn't actually expect to talk about a bit of the Pokemon stuff, but I thought we tied in there. Going on quickly to tying into last week's conversation for accessibility. Forza Horizon 5 has added American Sign Language and British Sign Language support for in-game cinematics as a free update, and there's over 150 in-game cinematics shown in between driving across Mexico, which I think is insane. I think that's amazing, to be honest. Like, it just goes to show that like you could do these sorts of games and no one's left behind, which I think is awesome.
I do happen to know that the British Sign Language has historically had a lot of trouble being recognised as an actual language in the UK. So this will massively boost the visibility of the language itself, as well as making it accessible to people who speak or can read the language.
I know when Eternals came out, because obviously one of the characters in that is Death. Supposedly, the people wanting to learn like ASL and BSL shot up by a significant amount, which I think is awesome. Like learn other languages, but it's obviously different than a phonetic spoken language. But no, it's really awesome to just see like it can be done, people. Adding these features can be done. It's just taking the time to do it. But again, that's a conversation we have last week. So go back and listen to the episode for accessibility in certain games, because it can be done. That's all I'm saying. Almost running out though. Funimation, nice little topic for Fergus. Fergus's face cheered up at that. Like,
yes, I know about this one. So Funimation is merging into Crunchyroll. They are becoming one company. I'm glad it's this way round. Actually, the Crunchyroll website will be absorbing all of the content from Funimation. Crunchyroll has the superior website by far.
They also have the superior player app as well. Like on consoles, the Funimation app was terrible, just terrible, to be honest.
Yeah, I have had a lot of problems with the Funimation websites for some time now. Like you would get like 5 episodes into a series and discover like the next 10 episodes were only in Portuguese, or there were just no subtitles for some reason. So I'm glad the people of Crunchyroll are taking over that content, because there's a lot of good content in the Funimation bracket. Like especially for the more historical anime. There's a golden era around 2010, which Funimation have a lot of.
Yeah, because Crunchyroll didn't have Cowboy Bebop, I believe, or at least the dubbed version. Because supposedly the dubbed version of Cowboy Bebop was actually quite difficult to find outside of certain areas without buying it. And obviously it's on Netflix now. But just thinking in regards to like the content, because I know Funimation was more for people who prefer the dubbed versions, and I think maybe this is an episode topic of dubbed or subbed. I'm pretty much dubbed all the way in my opinion. But yeah, it's just the idea of basically, will they push dub just as much because now they're merging it into one, and I'm wondering where it's going to go with that. To be honest.
Oh, it'll definitely still be a combination of both. Dubbed does take some weeks to come through, especially if you're watching sort of like current airing stuff. So if you're watching dubbed, you'll often be about half a series to a series behind, depending on the show. So they will definitely do the translation for the current airing, and then that will remain. And they'll also have more mechanisms to do the dubbed, so it will be more of a 50-50 split, I think, probably.
Our final topic before we end the news today is he's back, people. I'm back, baby. Futurama, John DiMaggio has confirmed that he is coming back for the Futurama Hulu revival, and he will be on, or as some people have called it, #Bendergate. But he ended his tweet with, what is it saying here? I'm back, baby. Bite my shiny metal ass. Just a way to reintroduce himself to the series. But yeah, so basically he is coming back for an extended period of the episodes. I'm wondering how that goes for the rest of the cast, because I know there was some issues with the contracts, with the actual salaries, and I believe he was pushing for some different approaches, so it'll be really interesting to see, to be honest. But yeah, really nice to see him back. I'll be honest with you, I don't see how that show could have gone forward without him, but when you think of Futurama, like, I think of Bender is like the first person you go to. Like The Big Bang Theory, you think of Sheldon, The Simpsons, you think of Bart, certain characters.
I was thinking about this the other day, and I can't think of an example where an original voice actor, especially like a really iconic one, was left and replaced and it worked. I can't think of an example like that. I mean, maybe I just don't know one, but can you guys?
I know voice actors who've passed away and the voice has been taken over. Now that's more common. That does happen because if you watch Avatar: The Last Airbender, the original voice of Uncle Iroh, Mako, passed away during the recording of those episodes, and another voice actor took over. And I believe I might have to edit this out, but the episode in the Tales of Bang Sing Se episode, leaves on the vine, just like, there's this episode with like an amazing song at the end, just gets me emotional all the time, like when I hear it. And that episode was dedicated to him, actually. But yeah, and obviously they're doing the Netflix Last Airbender live action TV show, which I'm intrigued about, to be honest, because the cast seems really good. But yeah, just sees where it goes from there. But yeah, going back to the voice actors, though, yeah, I kind of knew this was going to happen for him. Like, sometimes a star has a good amount of power and a good amount of sway, and I think the backlash from the internet didn't help. Like, as soon as it was confirmed that he wasn't back yet and he's still in salary negotiations, or he might be coming back, that would have caused a lot of profit issues for the company, and they were like, we might as well just do it. Because if you think about it, to be fair, Hulu's Disney now. Hulu, future all under the mouse. Haha! All under the mouse, people. And yeah, I just think, it'd be really interesting to see where they go from here. And as James has said before, I don't know where, maybe they'll have like a, it was all a dream, which I think would be stupid to do, or go into the joke of the multiverse, like have that version end and then have like another version of Futurama continue. That'd be pretty awesome, to be honest. But yes, we have loads more news to go through, but unfortunately we will have to hold off those this week because we are going to get into the main topic of the week. So that was the news, people.
An illegal spy agency discovers the theft of a prototype weapon. Derek, codename Confused Llama, and his handler, Frank, codename Majestic Vole, investigate the theft. A naive man with fanciful notions Derek sets out on his inept journey to reclaim the weapon from villainous hands, unaware of the hidden tale following him. Enter the world of Confused Llama, A Spy's Tale, a short comedic spy thriller available on Amazon in paperback or Kindle.
We are going to get into the main topic now, the main topic. As mentioned before, we have The Batman. The Batman. Vengeance is the night. I am the night. Coming out as my terrible Batman impression because I'll go a much higher voice. Obviously with Robert Pattinson, Colin Farrell, Paul Dano, Jeffrey Wright, Zoe Kravitz. That movie, and Andy Serkis, and directed by Matt Reeves. That movie's 3 hours long. I don't know how I'm going to survive. We're going earlier in the morning, so it'll be pretty interesting. And definitely, just to let you know, people, we will be doing a review for that episode. So check back on Tuesday for a review for that episode. We'll probably do a spoiler review as well, but we will do an initial review, give our ratings, and then do a spoiler review afterwards, just so, people can leave after they got their initial impressions. We will go on from there. But yes, with this comic book movie coming out, and we've had so many Batman movies now, we've had so many comic book movies. Are we feeling a bit tired? Are we feeling a bit, there's too many comic book movies out there now, or comic book properties, pushing out now. Are we feeling a little burnt out? So the topic this week is comic book burnout coming, or are people feeling it now? And to me, as a big comic book geek, I am and I'm not. I think which is a bit, shock for some people if they ever hear this. I love my comic books, and I think it's a case of we'll get into it, but it's just how they approach it going forwards. But what are your guys' initial impressions?
Yes, comic book burnout is coming. In fact, I've not completely burnt out, but with the Marvel films after 15 years or Marvel films. Oh no, it's more 16 years. Gosh, 21 years, 15 years. Nate's waving his hands at me. A large number of years. I feel like I've been watching Marvel films forever now. I did watch all of them and keep up with all of them and understand where they all fitted in the Marvel universe, up until the Endgame, Infinity War, the one where they all came out of portals, and
Endgame, yeah.
That's the one. Yeah. Beyond that, I am so completely lost as to where all these characters fit in the universe. I don't have the capacity to keep up with that. Now that they've started introducing TV shows that have lore that fit into the films, there's just too much. And it's getting really, really B-list as well for some of these the characters that they're using. They've used up the Spider-Mans, the Iron Mans, etc. Now they're on to Wasp Woman, and I don't know. I just can't care.
I do have to preface that Iron Man wasn't an A-list comic book character when they did his first movie. So obviously when Marvel sold the licenses to Sony and everything and all these other studios because they were almost going bankrupt, so that's they were able to stay afloat. It was only when they decided to make a gamble, I was reading an article recently, a gamble of making Iron Man the first movie, that they decided, we'll take a character that's not huge. I remember the old 90s cartoon with the Iron Man theme song playing as the hammer comes down, and which I thought was epic back in the day. And he wasn't a high, I think it was a case of risk reward in the case of he isn't Spider-Man, he isn't the Hulk, and it's interesting that the Hulk has become more of a sidelined character in the last 20 years. He isn't as big as he used to be. He used to be front and center, all the TV shows, cartoons and everything. And I do see where you're coming from in regards to comic books. When Endgame came out, I spoke to a few people. They watched Endgame. They're like, okay, yeah, that's technically Marvel Cinematic Universe is done. That's it. I'm done. It ends at that point.
That's kind of where I was going to say. It felt like a very strong end point for people to drop off if they wanted to. I know that that's the end of, I think it was the third era, right?
In this, it was called the Infinity Saga. So it was actually
Yeah, and that is actually my perspective on this is that I dropped off at that point. So that happened for me there. I wasn't as diligent as Fergus in keeping up with everything. I more watch basically either a movie that was rated well or looked particularly interesting to me. But I'm kind of now picking it up again, and the reason I am is because one, I missed some amazing films like the newest Spider-Man trilogy and Spider-Verse, and they're also, I feel, starting to do some interesting different stuff with the licenses. WandaVision sticks out to me there. It is comic book characters, but it is a completely different take on using those characters. So for me, they're bringing in interesting stuff, and where it is interesting, I'm watching it, but where it's not, I'm just leaving it.
Yeah, I mean, so for me, I kind of agree with kind of a bit of everything that we said. So I expected myself to drop off after Endgame, but I haven't, and that's because the Marvel TV shows have been inventive and have been good, and I'll cite both Loki and WandaVision in both being inventive shows, which I really liked. So they have actually wrote me back in as a result of that. However, I would also say that I struggled with the Celestials. Was that the right one?
Eternals.
Eternals. Yeah, I struggled with that. I did struggle a bit with that film. I couldn't watch it all the way through in one sitting. I didn't mind it. It's an okay film, but I was starting to feel a bit meh about the whole thing. And one thing I do feel is an issue with comic book movies, is particularly with Marvel, as much as... So this is what we can get into potentially, but they are very, very formulaic films, Marvel films. However, the way Marvel goes about doing those films is very, 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 very good. Which is why they're such films. But they do play around with certain amounts of expectations. Like, for instance, Shang-Chi. That went in a different direction than what I expected. However, it still hits the familiar beats of a Marvel movie, still ended in a similar way to what you expect.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I was literally, that was the film I was going to go on about, in the sense of like Shang-Chi. I thought the martial arts were basically, and going forwards, they need to use that stunt team, they used to use the martial arts team, because, like, to be fair, though, Shang-Chi is the master of martial arts. You know, he is like the best fighter in the Marvel universe, and he even trained Spider-Man at one point in the comic books when Spider-Man lost his powers, and he gave him the way of the spider. Actually, no, that's actually a comic book storyline. And also, they've Tom Holland and I believe, I think it was Simu Liu said he'd love to do a film with Tom Holland, which I thought would be really interesting, to be honest. But you know, going off of that, though, yeah, I think like with Shang-Chi, the first 2/3 of that movie, like the whole, it was a romance movie at parts. It was, you know, Chinese martial arts movie. There's an entire bus sequence which I thought was amazing, and most of that was CGI, which I thought was impressive. But yeah, the final third did feel like a Marvel movie, and I think that's something that actually goes into their shows as well. So I think with the Marvel TV, like the Marvel, because I've come from, like, I've watched like all comic book TV. I've seen Smallville. I watched the the Arrowverse, which I thought was amazing up until a certain point. You know, that drifted off, and going by the whole order, like you have to watch stuff in order, because the Arrowverse had crossovers and people going into different shows. We had a friend who basically said to me, Nate, can you come up with a compendium of like all the different shows? I did it, not realizing a week later there was an app, there was a phone app for it, and I was like, I was pissed, because there was like over 250 episodes I categorized for him. But I've done all that, and going into the Marvel stuff, I definitely think it's a testament to what they've done. Like, there's no doubt about it. Going from a movie where Robert Downey Jr. got paid about $500,000 to, and because he was liable, the insurance was liable against him, to being one of the biggest names and highest paid actors in history for films, and then the 26 films we've got now between there, and the fact that they've got films planned until I believe the mid 2030s. Like, the fact that Kevin Feige, I think that's the good thing about this, is that, yeah, comic book burnout might be coming in some aspects, like maybe not the actual movie's ending, but like how they use the formula, how they try to reinvent it, how they try to do it, because I think that's the best way to go about it.
You not find that the superhero movie franchises are too dominated by Marvel? Like, they have their own formula, they've got their own heroes, but you've only really got Marvel and DC competing against each other. There are a wider variety of input of heroes could be a good thing.
X-Men made an attempt.
Yeah.
I mean, and now they're owned by Disney. I think you are right in some sense. I think Marvel, Chaz actually come onto this point in that they are trying different things now. Basically, I can't remember the quote, so I believe someone said it. Basically, with Infinity War ending, they've done their safe Marvel. They've done they've got people invested. You're gonna watch this stuff now, but now they could get into the weird shit. They could start doing out there like WandaVision and Loki and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness just looks fucking insane. And it's Sam Raimi doing that as well. So and also I've heard rumors that a certain character's going to be. I'm not going to say who actor, but I'm not going to say who. Fun if it is, but yeah. And it's a case of you've got Miss Marvel coming out, the TV show, which I think is going to be awesome. You've got She-Hulk, which is it's supposed to going to be more of a comedy. It's actually going to go the comedic crew, and the Hulk's going to be in that. Mark Ruffalo is going to be in that, and it's going to bring Abomination back in that. Tim Roth. And you've got stuff like Ironheart, which is about a African American woman who she's high school or college. She creates her own Iron Man suit. She's inspired by Iron Man. She goes, she does that. You've got Armor Wars. You've got Secret Wars, which has Emilia Clarke from Game of Thrones in it as the main character, and Sam Jackson coming back, and it's about a Skrull. It's supposedly about a Skrull invasion in the comic books. You've got all these different things coming out. The latest one though is Moon Knight, and this is the one that intrigues me the most because it's if you've seen the trailers for Moon Knight, a lot of British people might have got insulted by the trailer because the British accent sounds terrible in the trailer. But the thing is that the character has dissociative identity disorder or split personality disorder, the classic term, and it's Oscar Isaac in the lead role, and it's much more violent. And people are worried that they're going to Disneyfy the show. They're going to make it, only go to a certain level. And I believe Kevin Feige came out and said, "Oh no, when he hits people, you're gonna know it hurts. You're gonna because the Daredevil Netflix shows were good for that. Like the first season of that show was amazing for the combat and the fighting and the violence and just how that goes. And I think with Moon Knight's going to be so Loki and WandaVision are pushing it in the out there sort of seeing what they could try and do. Moon Knight is going to be figuring out the violence aspect of Marvel because they only go to a certain level because they've got Deadpool coming. They have got Deadpool confirmed with the Marvel Universe, and he's been R-rated. Blade is coming. Is Blade going to be PG-13? Because the original Blade movies, which were fucking badass, and because obviously you got to realize that Blade goes back to '98 for the more popular ones. We don't talk about the Fantastic Four in the early '90s. But Blade was really the first Marvel film outside of Now, if they did include Wesley Snipes in the Multiverse of Madness, that would confirm it as the first cinematic Marvel movie, which would be insane. But you are right in the sense that Chaz, it's how they go about it from here. It's how they try to figure out going back to what I said about the formula. It feels every show they create in the Disney shows at the moment feel rushed at the end. They feel like they wrap up too quickly, and I think that's a concern for me. Some of these episodes are 9 episodes long, but it feels like could have done with either one more or pulling a couple of episodes narrative out to extend that final part. Like WandaVision, that final episode could have been over 2 episodes in my opinion, or Star Wars, that as well. That sometimes wraps up quicker than I expected, or I think with the early Marvel movies, you need people are back on them and go, "Oh no, some parts of this weren't good. This wasn't that good. They tweaked this and everything." I think the TV shows are taking that same approach at the moment. It's their new way of going about it, and I think that's how it's going to work. And I think this is what will stop people coming away from it, because if they try new things, they're always going to keep coming back. They're always going to itch their arm and come back for a bit more. It's can I get a bit more of that Marvel?
Yeah, I'd agree with you there. What draws me to be honest, the Marvel movies more than the DC movies is it's not that they are comic book movies per se. It's that generally they're pretty good movies. I'm drawn to quality movies, and it's also the fact that you do have these characters that are quite familiar to a casual viewer like myself who watches the major stuff and then the things that are interesting. But lately, as you said, it's also that they're just doing different stuff. I wouldn't have said that Wonder or Vision were particularly interesting to me. Vision's kind of cool, but they're not my favorites. But just the fact that they were doing something unique with it, I think it's going to be it's going to be a very careful balance between keeping people invested in the ongoing kind of thread that weaves between all of these stories, and making sure that people don't feel obligated to keep up with everything to still be into these movies, because I could understand burnout if people feel like they have to watch every single thing that comes out.
I know Kevin Feige came out and said that Doctor Strange is now the anchor of the MCU, which is going to be interesting, because with the multiverse, he really does need to be, especially if you watch What If. Which again is another aspect of the fact that the What If part of the Marvel Universe is canon. It's official. Like, it is, which is interesting because I think also animation cartoons are easier to digest sometimes, especially in that short form format. And I think the reason they did that show, because they are doing a second season, is to get people ready for what's coming, because I think we are about to go into a era of, if you didn't know what was going on before, you're going to have no idea what's going to happen now. And that's a cause for concern in some aspects, because you don't want to say to someone, let's have a movie marathon. How many are there? Only 27 films, 6 TV shows,
I was just thinking, at this point, do they need an anchor to connect everything? Because the most interesting stuff is where they do new things, and it's not necessarily the characters. Maybe they do.
I don't. Well, kind of. It makes sense that Doctor Strange is the quote unquote anchor, but now they have the multiverse. They can do any film. Like, they could do the same, essentially the same film 4 different ways and release it in 4 consecutive years, because they were in 4 slightly different metaverses. Like, it's the level we're talking now.
So yeah, going off of Marvel for a bit though, let's go over to DC for a little bit in this regard, because we've been going on at Marvel. Marvel know what they're doing. That's pretty much it. We know where they're going. It's going to be interesting to see where they go. But with DC, actually, you were hit on an interesting topic there, Fergus, about the Joker, the recent Joker movie. So I believe there was an article saying they could do another Joker movie, but it could be an origin Joker story again, just from a different narrative perspective, because the Joker, you never know his origin. So you could make 4 Joker films with each story being completely different. Like, he's comedian in one, he's a gangster in another, because there are tons of different, there's one where he shot Batman's parents, and that's a part of the sequel of the Batman universe, but it's all these different things. And I think DC has had the problem of they tried to follow Marvel. That was their problem. They tried to do it too quickly and it failed. And now they're essentially rebooting the DC universe with Flashpoint, with the Flash movie. So you've got Michael Keaton coming back as Batman. You've got Ben Affleck leaving as Batman. Henry Cavill, which I feel so sorry for. We don't even know what's happening with him, because it's not confirmed if he's going or if he's coming back. You've got the Suicide Squad movie, which just came out recently, which is a soft reboot. So there are characters in it from the first movie, it's an okay film. The ending's not great by a lot of people's opinions. The new one is brilliant because it's James Gunn, so it's just absolutely amazing. Chaz hasn't seen it yet, if I remember correctly.
Yep. So that's another one I missed due to earlier burnout.
Yeah, so I definitely recommend, if you've got the chance just this weekend, watch that film.
Yeah, also I was going to say, in terms of a Joker, I think you can see that film as a little bit of even though it's a comic book film, I think it's also a bit of a rebuttal to the comic book burnout, because it is such a different film from most comic book movies. It's more in the mold of a old school Martin Scorsese kind of film.
Which is irony.
Yeah, exactly. But it was really, really good. And I think what the Joker does, actually, as a film, and I think what DC have the potential to do in the future, and I hope they do this, and I'm looking forward to the Batman on Saturday. I think that's going to be, I'm hopeful they have gone somewhere to do this, is that they can break past the issue that Marvel has, where a lot of their films have this very samey element in terms of its structure, and really try different things within the genres that aren't constrained by that structure.
Yeah, I was going to say the DC universe has a very different tone to the Marvel universe. I think DC are making a mistake trying to copy Marvel in terms of like attitude and tone. Like they should very much stick to what they could do well with the Batman and the Joker films, and like expand that to some of their other properties.
So I don't know if you've seen like the Justice League animated TV show back in the day. Like, they had like, so the first Justice League TV show they had, it was the core 6 or 7 Justice League members, and then they did Justice League Unlimited, which basically was tons of different superheroes in this TV show, tons of different stories. It wasn't always about Superman and Batman. There was some episodes where it was just about like these offshoot characters like Green Arrow. The Green Arrow became a much more popular character. And you've got all these like, when you think about DC though, a lot of people think they're the king of the animation side at the moment. They are like, they've released, I believe, almost 20 or over 20 DC animated movies, and most of them are really good. Like some of the earlier ones, like amazing. Some of the later ones, not as much, and they've tried to be different. And I think with their live action side, when Man of Steel came out, which I thought was a great film, I don't care what anyone says, I enjoyed that film. Like, you got to see how exactly. People were like, oh, why are they destroying the city? I'm like, because they're two super powerful beings, like realistically showing you what's going to happen if they go toe to toe to each other in a city. It's, I don't know. And also, the Avengers movie totaled New York. They don't like to talk about that, do they? It's just like, it's frustrating. And then Zack Snyder came in with Batman vs Superman, which ruined the storyline for me, in my opinion. Like, Chaz, you went to go see that film with me, didn't you?
Batman vs Superman. No.
So
I heard bad things. I was like, nah.
yeah. So basically, I went to go see that film, and I came out. I didn't talk for 5 minutes because I was angry. I was frustrated.
Yeah, I was just saying, Batman and Superman as the concept, Batman vs Superman. It should be. You can make a good film out of that concept, but they did not do that at all. I hated the central conceit as to why Batman was fighting Superman. I would have actually, I kind of like would like to completely. I would love to completely rewrite it and write my own version, because I think that's the biggest issue. I can't 100% remember what the Dark Knight Returns comic book does, but I know that does a whole Superman versus Batman thing, and I believe the reason behind that is a lot better, more interesting than what they did.
Yeah, basically, Gotham is in a state of disarray. There's factions, mutants. Batman is the only thing keeping control. He has like a police state there, essentially. And Superman is essentially a presidential lackey, and he's sent in to put, Batman under his thumb. And Batman's like, fuck this shit. I ain't doing that. I'm going to go toe to toe. And he beats the living shit out of Superman, which is just, yeah. And Doomsday was the thing for me. It just pissed me the fuck off. Like, I'm sorry, you introduced Superman's killer, literally the Superman killer, in the second film. It should have been 3 Superman movies, 2 Justice League movies, because in the comic books, Doomsday appears. The Justice League tried to fight him, and he just wipes the entire floor with everyone. He puts people in the hospital, kills people. He just knocks up him, and Superman's the only one who could do it, and he dies in the end fighting him. That would have been a good exit for Henry Cavill. Then you could reboot the character with the rebirth and everything, and just done that. And they just did it too quickly. And I think DC's issue was they just tried to do Marvel too quickly, and now they're rebooting. This is why I think DC isn't going to burn up, because I think they're starting to realize what we can do. Like, they've got Black Adam coming out, which is finally happening with Dwayne Johnson. He's been trying to make that since 2010. And now that's finally coming out. It's more of an anti-hero story. You've got The Flash coming out. You've got Blue Beetle as I believe it's a film now. It was going to be a TV show, as a TV film on HBO Max, which is a Latino superhero. Because I think that's been an issue in Marvel as well. They didn't have a lot of diverse superheroes, like their own properties initially. And I'm still frustrated that Black Widow got her film too late, in my opinion. That was stupid, in my opinion. And they're trying. Batgirl is currently filming with Brendan Fraser as the bad guy, which I think is epic. We're getting the Renaissance, as I like to call it. And they're starting to pull new things out there. And I think this topic, does go into like the burner, but it does also go into the concept of like, where comic book movies could go to keep themselves fresh, but also keep the viewer coming. And I think if DC don't be like Marvel, release these movies which are out there, like the Batman is going to be more of a detective story, finally giving us a movie where he is a detective, because he's called the world's greatest detective and the world's greatest martial artist. People are going to hate me for this now, but Christian Bale's Batman pisses me off, or the Batman before it, because he's the master of martial arts. He mainly uses his elbows to fight. Whereas Batman, to me, like, I know Robert Pattinson, he said he's been learning jiu-jitsu, he's been learning a few different martial arts to do this. And it's a really geeky thing for me to say, but it does frustrate me, like, and I think with the Batman coming out, a new take, because when that first trailer came out and he literally beat the living shit into that guy when he tried to come up to him, a lot of people went, oh, this is going to be different. Oh, no. And we'll see how the film goes. I'm not going to say anything about the reviews, James, because I know you like to keep away from those.
I've not even seen those.
Yeah, I've been reading them, but I'm not going. I'm not going to go into that because I know you don't like that. But all I say is like, I'm very intrigued to where we go from there. I'd be definitely interested to see where we go with that topic. Going on another thing though, like with DC and different properties. Chaz, you brought up a good thing the other day, and what was that?
I was thinking, if comic book burnout is a thing that's happening, has that affected the popularity of kind of like spoof or like different takes on the genre, like The Boys and like Invincible, and I'm sure there's some other examples you can add there as well, Nate.
Yeah, I think The Boys is an answer to the comic book. Like, I think the Joker has a narrative point of like, going against the grain of like what a superhero film is like. It's, as James said, it's more of a Scorsese movie. I think The Boys come out because I love the fact that The Boys just paints fun at those movies, like, the Seven, like it's called Dawn of the Seven in one of their, the fake film within that, and it's a Justice League and version of those, and the violent aspect. I think also like the fact that, because obviously The Boys is a graphic novel, it's been out for years, but it's only after the the property of like Marvel and DC coming out that they could actually do this, and it's just a testament to Seth Rogen in my opinion, because he's one of the producers on the show. But The Boys wouldn't have happened 10 years ago at all. They couldn't have done it 10 years ago because they tried to do it with Simon Pegg as Huey, because obviously in the comic book that's who Huey is based on.
I like that. Obviously, they got him to play Huey's dad in this, so that's a nice touch.
So if you actually see the new animated TV show Diabolical, Huey's design in that TV show is based on Simon Pegg's design. So they're actually using the original comic book design for the characters, which I thought was pretty cool. But you are right in the sense of like, all these comic book properties. Like The Walking Dead was different in the sense because that is a comic book property as well, but that was zombies, and that's I think that got away with it.
Yeah, different genre, kind of hits a little differently. I think with The Boys especially, the twisted nature of the superheroes, the super corporate approach to how the business kind of runs, like controls them effectively. All of that stuff, I don't think it would have hit anywhere near as hard if we didn't have such a not a glut, but like a massive amount of real superhero movies, I guess, for lack of a better word.
Have we all seen all The Boys here? Just to confirm, I don't want to spoil it.
No, I haven't seen it at all.
Yeah, I'm being careful. It's well worth a watch if you're not squeamish.
And it's only 8 episodes a season as well. So, but they are almost an hour an episode. So, yeah, but basically, I'm going to try and figure this out what's spoiling. Basically, there's a scene at the end of the second season with a character on a rooftop that basically Amazon said that they couldn't do in the first season. They just couldn't do it. And then they just did it for the second season. And I think because the popularity of the first season, people going, oh no, people want this shit. And I like the fact that Chaz just giggled his ass off because
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah,
exactly. That would not have been able to be done even 5 years ago or 2 years ago. And it's going to be interesting. And also, there's like so many scenes in that show which are just so over the top. I mean, you've got an episode this season, upcoming season. I don't know anything about it, but the episode is called Herogasm, and that just says a name in itself. And you got Jensen Ackles coming in this season from Supernatural. Dean from Supernatural. He's going to be playing a character called Soldier Boy. Now he is hinted at in the show. That's not a spoiler, you know. He's playing the first Vought American superhero, but he's an amalgam of he's a parody of Captain America, but he's the Homelander before Homelander, and that's all I'll say. Yeah, so that's all I'll say. But I definitely recommend checking out Fergus. That show is insane.
And it's worth saying that there are a lot of graphic novels out there that are not superhero related that often don't have films. So I'm going through Waterstone's graphic novels list at the moment. So the essential graphic novels list, not a single superhero here, but there are potentially some interesting graphic novels here. Persepolis, comic book about a family escaping persecution from Iran. Never seen anything not a hero film about that. But my point is, we have kind of got fixated on a very specific kind of comic with these film adaptations, I think. So there's a much wider variety of content out there. So Alan Moore's quite prolific for this sort of stuff. He did V for Vendetta, which is a very different sort of comic book film.
That is a good film, though. That is a very good film.
It's a really good film, yeah. But he's got quite an extensive catalogue now. Watchmen also now a film, but League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, which I think had Sean Connery in it some time ago. But I think they could probably do more with that.
There's no film which will make Sean Connery retire.
It wasn't that bad.
If you know the years, go back and rewatch it. Then say, because I'd like to see that film again.
I'm pretty sure it was a film which made Sean Connery retire, or at least he retired afterwards. But there is
actually a comic book TV show coming out in a couple of weeks. I didn't realize it was this soon. But it's called DMZ, for Demilitarized Zone. It's based on.
Oh yes, I've read the first couple of those. They're quite good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be set on HBO Max. I don't know how we're going to get in the UK, but it's starring Rosario Dawson, and it's set during the Second American Civil War.
Yes.
And it's only 6 episodes long, the first season. It's a mini series, so maybe it's just a one and done sort of thing. So that's sort of stuff I'm into, trying to do things differently. Chaz actually pointed out on another show, which I'm so glad people watched, which is Invincible, because that show, Jesus fucking Christ, like I read the graphic novel, so I knew what was coming in that show. But I'll be honest with you, stuff they did in the final episode of that show, I'm not even going to spoil it for people who have to watch it, wasn't nothing compared. Sorry, it went above and beyond what was in the comic book. And supposedly it's just going to get more violent as it goes along. Basically, you watch that show, and it seems like just a Spider-Man TV show at the beginning.
Yeah, honestly, like what got me about Invincible wasn't the violence per se. Obviously, it caught me out, but I actually really enjoyed the characters and the story it was telling. I just, it stood on its own feet in that regard. I almost view it as, a quality show first, and it had more appeal because of, as I was saying, it's kind of subverting the superhero genre from what we expect from superhero TV shows and films.
I mean, I'm also thinking like Mark Miller's a big part of this as well. So like, we have Kick-Ass, and which I thought was, amazing. We have the first the two Kingsman movie and the Kingsman, which is, an offshoot of the Kingsman movies. And obviously the Kingsman movies are an offshoot of the comic books. I liked them. The second one, went very Moonraker-esque in a sense, like went quite over the top and that. And I still need to watch the Kingsman because it's on Disney Plus now. But yeah, obviously Kick-Ass was brilliant back in the day. Which is interesting because the couple of the characters in that went on to both play Quicksilver, which is interesting to me. And obviously Jim Carrey was in that. But it just goes to show that people are trying to do different things, and I feel that this is the way that we're gonna see this topic today was supposed to be about burnout, but I think it's more a case of how do we avoid burnout? How do we try to do things differently? And I think stuff like DMZ and like Invincible, which has got 2 more seasons confirmed, by the way, which I think is insane. Because Amazon Prime were like, oh, we're gonna announce the second season, not 2. 1, but 2 new seasons. We just went, fuck it, we'll give you 2 more straight away, and I think that's epic, to be honest.
Yeah, it's the anime industry uses the manga industry quite heavily for ideas for shows. They basically adapt mangas quite a lot of the time because they're quite easy to do. Like you can, it is based or already built storyboard, so you just need to sort of cast and animate. But there's quite a wide variety of available manga out there to adapt. So I think what we're suffering at the moment is something similar to only making anime out of Shonen Jump. So at the moment we've only got the sort of Bleaches, Naruto's, One Pieces being made, but there is a very wide variety of potential out there for people to sort of to get more people on board. Really, it doesn't have to be superheroes. It could. There's a lot of graphic novels about a lot.
Yeah,
of
that's
different
just what I was going to
things.
say. Like, we are saying comic book movies as in it is only superhero movies, only superhero movies of like a certain tone. And I think burnout is inevitable if it keeps going like that. But at the end of the day, like Fergus said, there is a lot of source material out there, and there's a lot of different ways to use that source material. If the industry has the room and like the market is there to be creative and to evolve these ideas and to keep experimenting, then I could see it becoming, well, anime was a good comparison. Anime is not going to burn out anytime soon. It could be similar in that regard.
I think, yeah, you are right in a sense, because I think with the amount of streaming services we've got coming, we actually touched on this before, like how streaming services are having to be more they're having to take more risks with their shows now, because, with the Halo TV show coming out and like, all these different, Cuphead coming out on Netflix, you would not have expected a Cuphead style show like 5-6 years ago, and they're going to have to push this stuff out. I think, streaming services are a good way to go for this. I know Netflix tried to do their own with Jupiter's Legacy, the Mark Miller TV show. I'm not gonna lie, was not great at all. Like it looked cheap to a degree. They actually decided to create an offshoot called Super Crux, which is an animated version. So it's like the villains version in that universe, and that actually supposedly did quite well compared to Jupiter's Legacy, which is a shame because there are some really good actors in Jupiter's Legacy, the actual TV show itself, and it ended on a cliffhanger, which always frustrates me. I think if you're going to put on a cliffhanger on a TV show, contractually give them 1 more season, a short season to finish it up. I will stick by that till my dying day, touch wood. But yeah, I just want to come in on that, the whole comic thing. Saga. I know we've got a few friends who love the comic book series Saga. Stuff like that. About characters who are like got ram horns and like they have animal features and. Actually, there was that TV show about the Sweet Tooth that came out recently. It was produced by Robert Downey Jr. It was a comic. It's based on a comic book, I believe. That's got a 2nd season coming out. I want to confirm. Sorry, I've just knocked my microphone. In regards to like this post-apocalyptic world and and it's interesting to see Robert Downey Jr. go from Iron Man to this sort of thing, and I can confirm it was renewed for a 2nd season, and it was based on a comic book TV show. But it is trying these different things out, and I'm wondering with the level of The Boys of Invincible, and coming out in animated form or live action form on Amazon, are they going to go the more violent route? And Marvel are going to go teeter on that point, nowhere near The Boys and Invincible level. They will never do that unless that even Deadpool will not go to that level at all. It'll be violent, but it won't be that violent. Netflix, I'm a bit intrigued by how they're going to pull it off, because they're the ones I'm concerned with. Like, I think maybe if they go more if they can figure out live action animes, if they can figure out the formula to create a great live action anime, because they failed, well, not failed, but they have twice, 2-3 times now. Fullmetal Alchemist, Death Note, and Cowboy Bebop, which I'm still pissed about. Still should have just given that 1 more season. It could have been done. And you've got Avatar: The Last Airbender coming out. There's rumors I don't know if it's rumored or confirmed, but it's not Netflix, but there is a My Hero Academia live action film in the works. My concern is that all the characters in that are Japanese. How, with Shang-Chi coming out, is the Western market ready for an all Japanese cast of movies? Now, I'd like to think yes, which I'm hoping for, because Black Panther was, synonymous with, African American culture, people out there. Shang-Chi for the Chinese audience and everything, even though there's a bit of backlash there also. And I'm just wondering, are people ready for that?
Squid Game did well. That was all Korean, right?
Yes, and no, that's a big thing as well. Like Squid Game, it's been confirmed that they're doing a Squidverse now. They're going to have like offshoots and spin-offs. And Kingdom, if you haven't seen Kingdom, it's nowhere near as big as Squid Game, but it's a Korean medieval zombie TV show on Netflix.
Oh, I started watching this. It was. I think I got to episode 3 before it started to make me feel ill. Oh, I
Oh,
couldn't.
really? I
just
started
couldn't.
watching it and I was thinking about picking it up again. Is it that bad? That gory, I should say.
It gets. I don't. It's not gore.
Unnerving.
It's just.
Right. Okay.
I guess. Yeah. It didn't sit well with me. But then again, I can't watch Attack on Titan because it's too. I don't know, for the similar reason, I can't really put my finger on it.
And then there's me who will go watch Jackass and watch this type of thing, but I can't watch Hostel. No, I can't watch. It's not to that level. I can tell you that for sure. It's nowhere near to that level at all. But yeah, I just think like with streaming services, I think streaming services is the way it's going to go. Like we got a topic coming up in the future, people about how is streaming going to replace cinema? Because I think only the really really big films will be at the cinema in the future, I'd say like your Lord of the Rings, but that's coming onto TV now. And, I think like, your Marvel movies, your DC films, even those are going to be coming streaming. Only the big events, I think, will be there.
It is interesting. I don't know if you keep up with Oscars nomination rule changes or anything, but there's been a lot of movement or pushing and pulling around. So historically, you have to release a film in the cinema for it to be eligible for an Oscar nomination, but there has been a lot of pressure. I'm not entirely sure if they've yielded entirely yet on being able to just release 4-hour films to Netflix and then be eligible for
Still
Oscar
pissed off about that
nominations.
Oscar thing, to be honest, because they've got that fan favorite category now. But why the hell is films like Endgame there? Like Endgame came out in 2019, 2020, 2019, and it's in the fan favorite category with Snyderverse, Zack Snyder's Justice League, Spider-Man. Films came out within the last year. I'm sorry, but the Oscars are for the year, not the actual moment itself. And I'm not going to spoil it because there are specific moments in those movies which they've actually don't Google it, James, because they've categorized specific moments in movies, like the portal sequence in Endgame, which is just I'm not gonna lie, it's still epic. But with the Oscars, it's because No Way Home didn't get like Best Picture category or Actor category, which I'm not gonna lie, it should have done in my opinion. At least some of those. It got visual effects. It should. A lot of actors have come out and said that movie put people back in the cinema. Like how does that not quantify Oscar material in the least? But again, that divulges from the main topic. But yeah, we'll finish on this point with Fergus.
I was just going to say nobody's watching the Oscars anymore, and they're getting a bit desperate and trying to find new ways for enticing people in.
Well, how can we watch it in the UK? How can we watch in the UK? Like we can't. Yeah, that's the thing. It's a big American thing. We have the BAFTAs, but I don't really. Can we even watch those over here?
They certainly have been televised. They'll be on BBC probably.
Going back to the comic book, our main topic, as we like to go off a bit sometimes. I think with comic book properties in general, I think they need to be more risky. I think also they don't need to just go to live action. They need to do animation. I think animation is a very use animation as a launching point. Put an animated movie out there, see how it does, and then maybe do like a TV show, like a limited season TV show, and then build your movie after that. Build up. Like Blue Beetle, for example, getting the TV show film. A lot of people have been calling for that character for years, and he's only became popular in the animated universe of DC in the last 10 years, and he's actually pushed up from there. Batgirl, could we have expected a Batgirl film 10 years ago? You know, and it's because she became more popular as we went along. She's one of the main characters in the video games coming out, because that's another entire area, you know, comic book games and everything.
And diversifying from the superhero, supervillain narrative, that would do a lot for.
My concern
not
with that
burning
is
out on
that
comic
Venom
book
and
ink.
Morbius. So Venom is classed as a Spider-Man villain, but then he became an anti-hero as a whole story thing. And then Morbius is coming out, and they're marketing him as are you a bad guy or are you a legend? That's actually a line from the trailer, and I'm like, no, you're a vampire, you're a bad guy, and then you maybe go to that direction. Don't push them in that direction, right? Because how can they have a character development if you automatically put them there?
Yeah, I mean, the characters should be able to be their own self-contained things without being shoehorned into kind of like the current expected roles, like villain, anti-hero. Like if they're a vampire, they're a vampire. They live in a world of vampires. That's great. That's fine. That's self-contained. They don't all need to be in the same universe either. So we don't have to have this random vampire guy crossover with the Hulk.
Peacemaker, the TV show, came out. I haven't seen it yet myself, unfortunately, but I've heard that basically Peacemaker, the TV show, is set after the Suicide Squad film and follows John Cena as the main character. And people are like, when they first said, there was like, why the fuck do we need this TV show? And now people are going, this is probably one of the best comic book TV shows ever out. Like, you know, it's 8 episodes. It has an amazing intro, which I love listening to the song all the time. James Gunn basically said, oh yeah, I hate when people skip the intro, so he created an intro for that people don't want to skip over and they just want to watch. It's on YouTube. I definitely recommend going to watch it. And I think that he is classed as he's a villain, but also you come to learn more about his character. You get to build upon that, and I think that's where the films have issue. Like TV shows have the advantage of 40-50 minute episodes of building, learning more about his characters and getting more sympathetic with them. And it is getting a second season. I'd like to see the first season first. Harley Quinn, the animated TV show, James can actually touch upon this. That is a character who has come in with that TV show. I did not realize I needed that TV show when I saw it, because Jesus, my God, is violent, but also fucking hilarious. Like, so good.
Yeah, no, I love Harley. I like Harley Quinn TV show. It's good fun.
And it's on Amazon Prime. You can buy it, people, on there. I have double checked that in Google Play, I believe, as well. But yeah, no, I just think keep trying to push the boundaries. It'll be really interested to see where they go. DC is the one I'm looking at more right now, because I think DC are realizing, no, we are, as long as we just do things that are just different. You don't have to link everything. Do Jokers, do your Batman, have your Shazams, have your Wonder Womans, which is all good to do. Have your Flashes. Black Adam's going to tie into that. He's an anti-hero in the trailer that people have seen. He disintegrates a guy with lightning. Sorry, that's badass in my opinion, but also it just goes to show he's not the kind of hero who's just going to be like standing aside.
I mean, if you're going to look at, could have a brief think about what kind of villains, if you want to do a DC film basically just one villain like the Joker, you've missed one key villain, Batman villain out from that, which we should do a film of, and that is Condiment King.
I knew you were going to fucking say that. I knew you were going to relish the opportunity to say that. I had to pull that joke from the Lego Batman.
Oh my God.
Sorry, I'm sorry. No, because he says that joke in the Lego Batman movie. It's like, I relish the opportunity, Batman. No, some actually wanted to create a Clayface movie, like back in the day, and like the tragic history behind that character. And it just goes to show, I think DC is going to be an interesting one to follow. I think it'll be interesting to see with the streaming services in general, though, where they go with Invincible, The Boys, and how they can sort of push the boundaries, but also just do something completely out of the blue and be risky. Like Jupiter's Legacy didn't work, but at least they tried it, and then they created an animated TV show, which has actually worked. To Fergus's point of anime, try that route. I know maybe try a Marvel anime if you can't do it in like live action, or a DC tried to do the anime, did not work out as well with the Batman Samurai movie.
Yeah, that was terrible. That was actually really bad.
Yeah, with the whole like mecha Joker at the end, which was it was stupid. But they tried it. That's the thing. They tried to be different, and I think if you're going to go into these films and you're going to not let people go away or just not care anymore, keep pulling them back in by different things, and I think that's a good place to end that. it was definitely supposed to be about burnout, but I think we like just had a nice. It's nice to go into these discussions sometimes, like what they've done, where they could go, what possibly could happen to avoid the burnout happening. But yes, people, that is the end of the episode. I'd like to thank Chaz, Fergus, and James for joining me today. It's been really great, fellas.
Thanks for having
Yeah,
me.
cheers, guys. We enjoyed it.
Yeah, no worries. It's fun.
Excellent. Right, people, if you'd like, obviously, come back on Tuesday when we will have our review and then attached spoiler review for The Batman. Don't worry, it won't be a 3-hour review. We'll try to keep it under an hour. So a third of the time of The Batman. And come back for next week's topic, which we will get into our best gaming experiences. We were going to do best gaming experience, but I feel that with video games, you can never just have one, and there's so many different areas you can look into, and I think it would just be interesting to see where we go from that. But if you'd like to get in contact with us, or any questions, queries, possibly anything related to this week's topic or possible topics we could do in the future, or tell us how you think what your favorite comic book was, where comic books could not be in the burnout anymore, figure out how to go that different route, or tell us your favorite gaming experience. If we get it in before next week's episode, we could read them out at the end of the episode. But please feel free to email us at nmipodcast@outlook.com. That's nmipodcast@outlook.com, or follow us on Twitter or Instagram at nmicast. That's at nmicast. That's such as Nate M Cast, so nmicast. And if you go on there, you can also see our email address as well if you'd like to email on there. Make sure to subscribe and like us on Spotify and iTunes. And also find us on YouTube as well, where we are currently working on our pixel animated versions. We are currently in the process of retinkering that at the moment. But we will have talking pixel versions of ourselves eventually. Yay! And you can find us in there you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, and iTunes. NMI when you need more info. NMI when you need more info. Also, you can now find us on SoundCloud. We're going on all the streaming platforms, people. We're going on all the streaming platforms. Tell us what one you want us to be on. We'll see what we can do. But yes, I've been your host, Nate. I hope you have a lovely week. Please stay safe, everyone, and I'll see you later, everyone. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.